Hey guys, welcome back to your channel. I hope you're doing well. Now in today's video, I've got a very special guest. I'm delighted to be joined by Matt Roberts, who is a big Arsenal supporter, especially of the women's team. And why not bring you on, talk a bit about what's been going on recently? And so thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm really good, thank you. I've been looking forward to this ever since you messaged me. I think we've been messaging backwards and forwards for a while,
Yeah.
and it's nice to finally say hello, and especially from your channel. Then obviously you came on for the World Cup for VicAkersWonderland, but nice to say hello to fellow Gooners and everything. And I'm looking forward to tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know we've sort of spoken about this for a while, so I'm very, very excited to have you on and chat with you. I did want to kind of just touch on the Champions League game first, so we can sort of get it out of the way, so we don't really have to talk about it, because I know it was quite a difficult one. We did lose on penalties, and we did sort of concede a lot of goals. It didn't really go how I expected it. We are out of the Champions League right now. For you, were you surprised by that result?
I think just the way it was done, if I'm
Mm,
honest, there's a lot of factors to go into this. We're not the only high profile team that have been
yeah.
knocked out of the Champions League. Juventus have also been knocked out by Eintracht Frankfurt. So it's not we're not the only team in the same boat, as it were. But
Yeah,
I think it was probably asking too much too soon to be playing competitive fixture
yeah,
um, at this moment. I think we in the earlier round against Linkoping, who were hosting this little mini tournament as they were calling it. Um, we we barely got through, and that was only down to them wear and tear and talent outshining um, the routine that Sweden are midway through their current season. They
yeah,
finish November time, so it was one of those where I wasn't expecting it, but at the same time, when the draw was made, you probably go, well, at least it wasn't
yeah,
um, a more difficult. It could have quite easily been Juventus, or it could have been us against Frankfurt in that final, and then it's a bit more difficult because everyone's in similar boats at this moment in time. But
mm,
it was just the way we can see. I think there was a few times where it was a bit sloppy,
mm,
a bit sluggish, but it comes through pre-season, and that's one of the problems I think a lot of people have had, especially coming back from World Cup
yeah.
uh, as well. That was the real issues I think a lot of people had.
Yeah, it was quite a tough one. I think we did defensively, we did struggle a bit, and I think it has come quite soon after the World Cup. If I'm being honest, because players that like Alessia Russo that played for England, it's hard to they've got to kind of get over that and process that defeat and everything. So I think it has been a busy summer for like a lot of the players as well. So yeah, I think it came quite soon. If I'm being honest. But I would like to know for you, how do you think the players, the manager will react from this defeat?
Um, I think one of the things was that um, well, I look at someone like Tim Stillman who really does cover the
Mm,
women's game quite well for Arsenal. He's very well known throughout the women's game as well. He he um, he basically at full time he just turned around and said that he was only going to talk to Jonas.
mm,
Jonas Eideveld, the manager, has put himself through. He usually does these things where he's happy to take the pressure
yeah,
of the players. He is a fantastic manager. There's no doubt about that.
yeah,
Um, but I think in hindsight, they're over in Germany right now, which is
mm-hmm,
great to see. They're going to go through the usual preseason, going over to Germany for a bit of preseason training.
yeah,
Unfortunately, that'll only happen for about 2 weeks before, right at the end of the month, you've got the England game and the internationals, which is now the Nations League.
yeah,
Um, so it's just everything comes on right before the WSL even starts. It's a lot of pressure to have. and I think there's going to. I think a lot of the players are going to take a lot of time during that internationals before it's finally settled in. Um,
Yeah.
but there's pros and cons to being out in the Champions League and out of the Champions League.
Yeah.
There's more time to sort of relax, breathe. Alessia Russo and some of the other players that will play in the World Cup, they can take little breaks here and there. Whereas um, they in the Champions League, there is no room for error. You have to have your top players playing each match day almost.
Yeah, it is quite tough because in the Champions League you do have to play like the best level, and I think it was quite devastating to lose that game. But I did, in a way, think it was quite soon because with the World Cup going on, the players need a bit of time for like a rest and time for their body to recover. And we know with Leslie Russo as well that she did come in, she did score 2 goals, and I think probably she should have started, but I did want to talk a bit about Leslie Rousseau because she has left United and she came to Arsenal to play Champions League football, and obviously we're not in it now. What have you? I just want to touch on Harry's comment. And what do you think about the hate she gets? Do you think United fans have their right to be a bit frustrated, or do you think people are taking it a little bit far?
I think it's a mixture of two. I can understand the
Yeah.
issues that they have that affect, but you look at her point of view. Okay, you've missed out, but there was still another round to go. Effectively, that next draw will be made on Friday. United will find out who they play, but they'll have no guarantees of going through to the group stages themselves.
Hmm.
So it it is a difficult stage. That a lot of that United team itself, they don't have Champions League experience.
Yeah.
Um, so for for those fans to sort of be pointing and laughing and sort of saying, "Oh, you wanted to play Champions League and you only got 2 games," blah 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 blah. I don't. I think it's kind of just shows you the sort of mindset that some United fans have. It's not all United fans. Let that be known.
Hmm.
But especially when I've been to United in the past at Leigh Sports Village, um, it's sometimes it's usually quite nice. But over last year when I was there, it was a bit more toxic atmosphere. It doesn't help that they have a mixing zone, so everyone's together. There's no set allocation for away fans and home fans. Everyone's just mixed together, and you could
Yeah.
potentially it's a cause for concern safety wise. But
Hmm.
I'm hoping whoever goes there. I've decided this time around that I won't be going, but United fans have something to look forward to, but they don't need to be going around and pointing fingers left, right, and centre. I noticed as well. I think there was another comment there about Mary Earps.
Yeah.
That's all starting to come into it as well.
Mm.
Mary, there were questions about whether or not she was going to stay or she was going to go, and apparently it was all based around this what was going to happen in the Champions League. Now it looks like if she is going to go, she's going to go in the summer. Arsenal put the
Yeah.
money on the counter and left it at that. But at least it's playing the cards. It's an
Yeah.
option.
Do you think you would like her at Arsenal if that was an option?
Um, I think I've mentioned it on VicAkersWonderland is that Manu Zinsberger, who's our number one at the moment,
Yeah.
she is a great goalkeeper. She's done her dues at Arsenal. She's been a fantastic player. There's some great moments over the years. She's made some fantastic saves. I always remember a
Mm.
North London derby against Tottenham. She made that double save at Tottenham Stadium. That sort of brought out her ability a lot more. She was a lot more focused and she was able to prepare herself. But she does have those moments. Um,
Yeah.
if Manu does leave at the end of the season, I think Mary Ups is a good option, and
Mm.
we've also got Sabrina as well. So I think that will be a good comparison between two different goalkeepers, and it's going to be difficult as well because the problem with Mary Ups is compared to Manu is that Mary will get chipped easily, whereas Manu
Mm.
just has a few lapses of concentration here and there. It might be a small pass or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think like right now, I've said like I think Zinsberg has probably got maybe one season in it. I know she did sign a year. I think she's extended the contract, so obviously the season I expect her to be the starter. And like you said, Sabrina, I think is a really good goalkeeper. When she played for Man City last season against them, I thought she did a really good job. She didn't really make many mistakes, and um, yeah, I think it'd be hard if she did come in. And like with United, they with Leslie Rousseau, they could have really got money for her, but they left it for a bit, and it was good for us. But I worry for United fans that that might be the same case. Like, if she's not happy there, then you could get the money for her. But I think right now it's sort of fizzled out and it's calmed down a bit. I think I'm with you. I think she'll probably stay there for a little bit, maybe the season, and then change clubs. I think probably she wants to change clubs right now because she's had a time at United, she's had a good time there, she's done really well for them, and maybe she just wants to change clubs. And like you were saying with United, they don't really have a lot of players who have that experience in the Champions League like a lot of our players do. So I think regarding like Leslie Rousseau as well, I think it is quite harsh for them to say that to her because it's like her first season at Arsenal, and players do move on, and it is hard when they do that. I remember when Van der Donk left for Lyon, I was like really upset because she was a player I loved watching growing up, but in the end, she went on to win the Champions League with Lyon. So things just happen, and then players do move on. So I really hope United fans can understand that, even though it's a bit hard. But like we mentioned before with the Champions League, obviously we did get knocked out of that, and you were saying about the positives. Do you think that this could be a good opportunity for us to kind of go for the league a bit more, the Continental Cup and the FA Cup, and have that time to rest?
That was one of the defining factors between us and United last season, was that United didn't have the Champions League, so they were only, well, actually they finished second in their Conti Cup group, so worked out that they didn't go through, and they only had to fight on two fronts, the FA Cup and the league, and they basically went toe to toe. I think this time around, I think the squad's going to be a little bit more balanced than it was last season. We'll have players coming back from injuries. For those that are wondering, Leo Williamson is back running on the anti-gravity.
That was lovely to see that.
Yeah, and you've also got Viv back in training already now, that along with Beth. There's still a long time to go, but at that moment, it's going to feel it's going to build a huge impact because it's a lot of big people coming back and going to be able to push across that line. Maybe when you look at someone like the game against Paris, Frida Mar, if Viv was in that position that Frida Mar was with a header, open goal, she hits it over, Viv would have probably just stuck that in and that goes in as 4-3 game set match, and Arsenal go through. It's going to be a season where we're going to probably not, there's going to be an expectation, but that expectation is probably going to be that we're now going to have to fight for the title and the WSL, and we'll be fighting for the Conti Cup as well and the FA Cup as well. Well, so it's three fronts, but it's something that I think everyone's expecting at minimum would be a trophy.
Yeah, I think so. I think now that we're obviously not in the Champions League, I kind of think we should go for the other competitions. I think last season, winning the Continental Cup, I think it just showed you how much it meant to the team and the players, and obviously Jonas is his first trophy, because we went, I think it was about 4 years without winning anything, and I feel like we're going in the right direction. But for you, we obviously, like you said, we do have a few injuries. Leah probably will be back maybe next year, like January time. I don't know. Probably be like that with a few other players as well. But for you, what would you say your realistic expectations are for the season?
Realistic. Oh, that is a hard one. I think you'd like to challenge a lot of teams. I'm going to be honest. I think this WSL is going to be the tightest it's ever going to be.
Yeah.
There's some fantastic spending going on, especially at Aston Villa at the moment. So Chelsea have always up there. It's just a case of can someone knock them off? If anyone does knock them off that perch, they're going to have to do it at Kingsmeadow and at their own ground this time around. If it's the FA Cup, I would probably say would be, depending on how the draws go, would probably be the most realistic. I would probably say that if we were able to get the FA Cup, that's almost a bread and butter. I think that's one that Jonas was so close to getting. Unfortunately, we lost out in that December final to celebrate the was it 50 years since? Yes, 50 years since the women's game was eventually re-established. So that's the reason why that was pulled back from the previous season. It's too difficult to call in the WSL, but I'd like to see us finish in the Champions League spaces, that's for sure.
Yeah, like you said, it's hard to predict because, there's Aston Villa there in the mix, and, Rachel Daly last season did incredible, and I know if Man City, Joe Ward will be there, and I think she's, like, really good, and I think for me, like, Chelsea are really hard to kind of stop because they have consistently, won the league, and obviously that season we nearly won it. We were, like, so close, and I think we've just got to keep going, and we have strengthened in the window. I did want to discuss that as well because we know we've got Alessia Russo. We've defensively strengthened as well. And we do know, like, with Rafa as well, she's not here. There's no that Leah Williamson's out for a bit, but I think for me, when we played the other day, and I know it probably wasn't our strongest team, and they were probably a bit tired, but do you think we'll sort of manage the partnerships that we didn't have last season, like Rafa, Leah Williamson, because they just had this bond on the pitch that was incredible. So do you feel like we'll be okay defensively this season because of obviously there's been a few changes in the team?
I think the trip to Germany will actually help quite a lot.
Yeah.
And the fact is they're going to be there with a lot of time, and they're going to be able to get these links. Look at someone like Leia Cadena, who's just joined from Barcelona. She wasn't able to play in the Champions League. She ended up flying over to Germany. That was her first session. Look at someone like Amanda and Chloe, who also joined. Those sorts of bonds are going to help over the next couple of weeks, and if they're not there now, they'll be there. I'll have to say a special mention to Lena Hurtig as well, because she has really performed really well in those two Champions League games, and she's starting to get into the gears a little bit more. Unfortunately, last season she was a little bit injured and she wasn't able to play as much as a lot of people were expecting, but hopefully this time around those injuries have stopped, and hopefully we're going to see some more of her this season. And that's the other thing as well, is if she's not getting the odd start, she'll get it in the Conti Cup, which a lot of these players will probably get as well, which will be great to see.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think with, like, Lena Hurtig, I think at the end of last season, I think it was quite hard for her, like, with the injuries, and I think a lot of people did write her off a bit from what I saw online, and I think it'll be good to see this season how she'll get on and how much, time she'll get. I think that's another thing. I know with Gio as well, I think there was rumours about her going to Atletico Madrid as well, and I think it'll be very good this season to see kind of our strongest team, how it works. We know Beth Mead will be back, which I'm very happy about. But as you mentioned, we have made a few changes. In the summer, we have really strengthened their field. Do you think we've done enough to have a successful season to win something again this season?
At the current moment, I would probably say not at the moment, no. Mainly because we're still in the market at the moment and there's only 1 day left. Where there are rumours that we're looking at a defensive midfielder and a right right back. But at the current moment, um, what's more of a priority is probably that right back, just because Noel Merritts is the only real right back. Even then, you're probably looking at someone like Amanda Illerstedt to also be there, was also able to play. Sorry, and in that right hand side, it is difficult to say for certain who's going to be able to step up onto that right hand side if Noel Merritts, say, gets injured. She is, though, the misconsistent in the squad. She's consistently giving you those sevens out there, sevens, eights out each game, and she's a fantastic player. It's just we need someone in that right hand side. And it's just a bit the same as well. If you watch the game against Paris, as soon as Liv Velti came off, there was a change. No, there was no real defensive cover, and that was one of the issues that I think a lot of people had, was that there's no one there apart from the one player that would probably be there would be Leah. Fortunately, Leah's injured with the ACL, but she's coming back. So it was just there are places where we need to strengthen at the moment, but I don't think we are going to get that done. But based on that alone, I think we've done really well. We've upgraded where we've needed to. We've had to replace where players have gone on. Unfortunately, Hahoriela has gone, which is a real shame because she was a fan favourite. She was really loved, but for
she was
personal
appreciated,
reasons,
wasn't she?
it was quite actually nice game against Aston Villa last season, last game of the season. She's come around. She's literally the last player on the pitch, and she's trying to get photos with everyone, try and get as much people in as possible. And she just wanted to spend as much time out there as possible because she knew it was going to be her last time. But it's things like that where you see it in the women's game. They're a lot more appreciative than you'd see in the men's game. You won't see that connection as much with the fans as you do in the women's game. And I think a lot of them are very appreciative now that we're seeing over 60 odd thousand for a Champions League, or 60,000 against Chelsea in the WSL, like it was last January. So there are things there that are pointing Arsenal in a positive way, and that's also sort of the draw at the moment, is that it's not just a plan. There's a plan there, or say, for example, West Ham last season, they didn't use the London Stadium. Usually, all the teams use the men's stadium once a season. Everton used theirs for the Merseyside derby. Same for Liverpool. Chelsea this season are actually going to play Tottenham. I believe they've got 2 other games there. We've decided to have 5 games there, and these things are going to help build the WSL up a little bit more. And I think we're going to see, when it comes to transfers in the future, we will see some players that maybe look at this now and go, I remember this season, and that being the light as if to say, I want to go over to the WSL in the future.
I agree with that. I think it's really hard, like you said, to predict how we'll manage with some of the injuries, and there are still a few out. But we did support at the end of last season, and that's what I'm kind of holding on to, because we managed to get a 3rd place, which is pretty incredible considering how difficult the season was. So I'm really hoping that this season we can keep that up, even though it'll be hard. I think I'm really happy with who we've brought in. I think I'm happy for Amanda to come in defensively to help us, and I think defensively I'm a bit worried how we'll kind of cope. Really, I know that was one game, so I don't think we should sort of hold on to it too much. But I think we always struggle without Leah. She just has this presence, especially when you're watching the Lionesses in the World Cup. Greenwood, you're right, did excellent, but you just really miss her in the team. So I definitely think that will be hard. But I'm very, very happy with, for me, Leslie Reese is probably one of the best signings for me. And talking on that, I just want to read this question now. Ready's Adventure. Hi, Soph. I generally think that Russo thought it was right time to move on with her career with the Gunners. I wish her all the best. and good luck for the season. Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to see it, really. I did want to answer Harry's question. I'd love to know for you as well. What did you make of that documentary? Did you get to watch it?
I haven't watched it yet. It's on my list of what to watch. But from the trailers, you look at it and it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
From people that I've spoken to
Mhm.
about it, some of them have really enjoyed it. Some of them have said it's not like the Amazon All or Nothing
Mhm.
documentary. It's very much like a not nailed down BTEC version of it, if you will. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it when I get a chance to.
Yeah, it was. It's quite weird because I didn't know what to expect when I watched it because obviously I've watched the Arsenal or Nothing the men's version and it was quite interesting. I think it's like good for us fans to kind of see what goes on behind the scenes, see kind of who does the team talks, who like helps the team when we're going through difficult moments, and um, it's quite hard though actually watching it back when you've kind of have to go back through Bethany's injury, other people's injuries. It just takes you back to those memories and how difficult it was for us. But yeah, I hope you get to watch it. Sam said, "Hi, how are you? I'm looking forward to my second spell of being an Arsenal women's season ticket holder. That sounds amazing. Hope you enjoy the season as well when it comes on." Hello, Paul. I've got a question here from Emerson Allen Cozier, if that's right. Do you both think that some of the academy players will make their debut this season in the WSL, Continental Cup, and FA Cup? What do you think about that, Matt?
I wouldn't be surprised if we do, mainly
Mm-hmm.
because it will be some of these players will be again they'll Jonas might turn around and say, look, to say Alessia and Stina, look, you need to have this week off. We got a more important game at the weekend. Want you
Mm-hmm.
to rest up, just go relax for 3 days. Don't want you to be part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of players over the years have made their debuts in the FA Cup and the um, Conti Cup as well. You look at Victoria Pelova, who joined in January last year. You look at someone as well like Laura Weinreuter, who are currently out with an ACL injury, slowly making her way back. She'll be on the treadmill soon, hopefully, from the photos. Um, but there are these players. Michelle Ackerman scored her first first goal for Arsenal in that FA Cup against Leeds. There's so many players that you could mention that have made their debuts. Academy players, no strangers. You look at someone like last year, Freya Godfrey, who's now out on loan with Charlton. She got her debut in the FA, the WSL towards the end of the season. So it's definitely an opportunity for a lot of them, and it's very much a tradition now to have young players in the academy. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if we see maybe Naomi Williams
Mm-hmm.
make a debut. If we end up getting like a Leeds or anything in that third round tie in the FA Cup.
Yeah, I agree because I think for me, like you said, if we were going for the league and we were like at the top and doing well, I think it is important to give the players a bit of like a rest, like you said, if Stina or if Miedema's playing, and she sort of needs that time because I think we do sort of have to be careful of injuries. I mean, I do think us not being in the Champions League again will give us time to rest, not to travel all the time as much as they would love to do that. I just think we had such a difficult season last season with injuries, and it was quite crazy how many we got. So I do think it would be good to have kind of like a chilled season where we don't do tons of traveling. And I think I just would like us to see us go for kind of a cup again. You know, the FA Cup for me. I do want to say about Jonas as well. And it's like his first season, I think he did really well for us, and I think we've started to build under him, and I think he's the right person to take us forward. And for you, I'd love to know what were your thoughts on Jonas when he first came, and what are your thoughts on the job he's done overall now?
When when you when that announcement came, I think there was a lot of speculation about what he does, how he does it, and
Mm-hmm.
especially with the players that he got. Essentially, none of those players are now here. You look so for example, so Manuel Uebuchi is retired.
Yeah.
Nikita Paris has gone on over to Manchester United. You look, some of my own boy has left the club last summer. Gio is still at the club, but it's
Mm.
a bit 50-50 at the moment with what's happening. We don't know if she's going to go out. I don't know if she's going to stay at the moment. They'd say left. No,
Mm-hmm.
no, no. We don't. We didn't have any indication to say this is definitely not happening. Yeah, well, this
Yeah.
is definitely happening. But at the moment, you'd imagine that Gio stays with the squad. She'll get her minutes in the Conti Cup, or she might get them against Brighton. Sorry, not Brighton, Bristol, or there might be times where she will be called upon this season. But I think that we can look at Jonas and say it was almost like a very unexpected surprise,
Yeah.
if I'm honest. The difference was under Joe Montemurro was that we would basically score these teams to death. One of the highest goal scoring, actually the highest WSL
Mm-hmm.
goal scorer was actually Arsenal 13 to Bristol City's 1, and that was under Joe Montemurro. It was just the sort of things that
Mm.
you could tell is a bit different. Arsenal, unfortunately, just didn't look in that last season. It just sort of they didn't look title to contenders or anything. Um, but even though they had the squad to do that, with as you mentioned earlier, Danielle van der Donk,
Mm-hmm.
you look, and Jill Roord was also in the squad. But you look at this squad now, and you could probably say this team is very well together. They
Mm.
understand each other. They call themselves family or sisters. This
Mm.
team is so together compared to where they were, say, 2-3 years ago, and that's a huge plus for everyone. Think everyone can pick one player that they really enjoy watching and going, yeah. But there's other people that if you don't go and see them, like I remember my first game was actually away to Villa Park against Aston Villa, and I didn't really understand what the how what the fuss was over Kim Little.
Mm.
And when you watch her play live, you just are mesmerized. It's almost like she's got you hypnotized from the first minute to the last minute. It's just some of these players really do, unless you are able to watch them live, you don't understand how they play and how they tick. And there are things where you see over there in the past that maybe Jonas has had that influence over. And Jonas has been a great manager. And
Mm.
I remember actually the last game of the previous season, the first season that he came in, away to West Ham, all we needed to do was win, make sure, and if Chelsea had draw or just a
Mm.
little, there was a bit of goal difference, all Chelsea needed was, and Chelsea won their game. He came out and apologised, and I just said to him, "Don't apologise because it was a roller coaster of a season, and we're ready to go again because we're with you. We're with you
Mm.
100%." And a lot of the fans feel that way. Just I know you talked about the sort of Alessia Russo abuse earlier. There's also been some people turning around saying Jonas should go, or he should be sacked, this, that, the other, because of what happened in the Champions League. I think that's a bit unfair. I think that's a bit premature. Jonas has done a lot over the last 2 years, and if we want to continue to grow, we need to stick with these players. We need to stick with this team, and we need to stick with the manager and the staff, backroom staff as well. This team is going to be up there for everything for the next 3 or 4 years. Potentially could be actually a treble winning season if you look at it like that. If you want to be super positive, um, I'm looking forward to it. As soon as that first whistle at the Emirates against Liverpool, I'll be looking forward to it. straight away. I think everyone's sort of waiting for that game now because that will really mean football's back for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm kind of like you. I think when he first came, I mean, I didn't really know a lot about him, and I think the first game of the season, I think it was against Chelsea where we won 3-2. I think with that game, I just felt like so like mesmerized. I thought I just liked him straight away, and I think obviously towards the end of the season we did start to kind of struggle and slow down, and I think I haven't always sort of agreed with his lineups or tactics, but I'm with you. I think he deserves to stay and build a team like Arteta has with Arsenal, and I think it is quite harsh if people do say, you know, he needs to go. I think managers need time, and I feel like for me, he's proved me. I've seen enough to know that I believe in him as a manager, and you know, we were so close to the league that season, and I think winning a Continental Cup. And I think last season, yeah, it was a really hard season for us and for the team, but we just really fought hard and never gave up. And I feel like he's a big part of that belief. And obviously, we are quite lucky to have some great leaders in the team, like you said, with Kim Little and I think Leah Williamson, McCabe. So we are quite fortunate to have quite a few leaders in the team, but yeah, I just really like him personally, and I do think he deserves more time, and I think he is part of our future now. But like you said, with Joe, the old manager we used to have, we did obviously do well with him, but I did feel like we came to a point where I just felt like we sort of lost ourselves a bit. We weren't really the successful Arsenal we were known by. I think Chelsea was sort of catching up on us, and I felt like for me it probably was the right change for a manager. We can appreciate what he's done for us. You know, he won us the league, and that was amazing. But yeah, I definitely feel like we're going in the right direction, and hopefully this season we'll do well. I did want to answer a few questions. Harry has asked, who are you looking forward to see improve our team on the team? Who are you looking forward to seeing?
Um, I've already mentioned Nina Hurtig.
Yeah.
I think her time is coming. Um, there are a few others that probably you would say last season they weren't
Mm-hmm.
great, but they did the job. Look at someone like Gio. Unfortunately, she had a few injury problems as
Yeah.
well, which is why she was kind of reduced. Um, there's the one player I have to sort of mention. Unfortunately, I there's this issue where I see her playing, and all of a sudden she's for whatever reason she's playing on the right hand side. Even though she's a central midfielder, she cannot play on that right hand side. She cannot play as a winger,
Mm-hmm.
and that's Katrine Cool. Um, I'd like to see her play more centrally this season, and I have a feeling that she will. And I'm hoping that when she's given that chance, she's going to grab the opportunity and run with it. I remember that one of the quotes from her old coaches is that she's got a higher ceiling than Pernille Harder has at
Mm-hmm.
she's now at Bayern Munich, but formerly of Chelsea, and current captain of Denmark, he says as well. So I think for me, Katrine Kuhl, she's got a lot of players that can um, learn from. She's got Leah Velti, she's got Kim Little
Mm-hmm.
in there, Frieda and Hart and Mornham as well. So I think for me, the one that will be definitely one to watch and keep an eye on to hopefully improve on would be Katrine Kuhl.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few, you know, exciting players to watch this season. Like you said last season, a few of them did get more of an opportunity because, you know, a lot of our key players who would start weren't able to because of injuries. So I think for me, Palove is one that I feel so excited about playing. I think she is a really special player. I love watching her, and she's just a joy to watch on the ball. And yeah, I think she's gonna have a big season for us. I think she's like very skillful, and I think she'll get lots of goals this season. And it's hard with Gio because I sort of wanted to do well, but I feel like at the moment, like when she did get them chances in the FA Cup, I felt like she did struggle a bit with it, and maybe she just needs more experience. So for you, if she went on loan, say to Atletico Madrid or wherever she went, would you think that would be the right thing for her to have that game time and opportunity?
Uh, I think if she was to go anywhere, I think she'd have to. be part of a Champions League squad.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was more closer to home, I've mentioned this at VicAkersWonderland. Wonderland. There are teams that probably need that
Yeah.
right-handed sided winger or a striker. I don't think Everton's the answer this time. I think I think Gio could quite easily work well at Bristol. I
Mm-hmm.
think should probably work quite well with maybe a West Ham. Um, there are teams that definitely need those types of players, and Gio is a fantastic player, but she needs the right environment. And it's just a case of finding it. Um, if she doesn't get game time within the first up until January, she's got an opportunity to go out on loan then. So it's not the end of the world for her. But I'm hoping that she does really well when it really matters, and I have a feeling that she's gonna have some spectacular games this season.
Yeah, I agree with that. Really, I think I do think she'd want to be close to home. I suppose when you move clubs all the time, she was at Everton and now on loan, and now she's at Arsenal. I suppose it's quite hard to settle down somewhere if you're off like in Atletico Madrid. I think that club for me, I think I'd want her to go there because, like you said, I think with Champions League experience, I think that's sort of what she needs because Arsenal really are a club that are in the Champions League season after season. So I think that is sort of what she wants. But like you said, I think there's other teams in the WSL that could gain having her is, give her opportunities that would help the team. Say like a West Ham that probably do struggle a bit and need players to bring in. So yeah, I definitely think she will be loaned. I don't think she will stay. It depends really. I think it'd be interesting to see who kind of gets those opportunities in the other cup competitions. We know with like the FA Cup, in the early stages, the Continental Cup, we can kind of afford to rest some players, which is really good. So yeah, I think it will definitely be interesting to see. But I do really love Gio. I think she will be good for us depending on how it goes. But yeah, I definitely think a loan will happen. Harry has asked, who do you want to transfer? If that's I don't know if that means in a way to bring people in, or if there's any players at Arsenal you think need to be moved on. Because I think for me, I'm happy with what we've done, and I think because of the injuries, it's hard right now because when all of our players are back, like when Laura's back, when Miedemar's back, the Williamson's back, we're like a totally different team. So for us right now, it's obviously quite hard, but I suppose in the right back position, like you said, I think that's somewhere we probably need a bit of support in. But like I said, when Leah Volti went off, we sort of missed that, and obviously Leah could fill in that position when she's not injured. So what about you? Who do you think we should maybe? Is there any players at Arsenal right now you think probably should move on, or are you happy with the players we have?
Well, oddly enough, I don't know if they're still on the register, but Jodie Taylor,
Oh
as
yeah.
she's not. There's nothing against Jodie Taylor. It's just we have not heard anything about what's going on with her. As far as we were aware, like you go through training photos, things like that. She's not in any of them. But for whatever reason, the Arsenal website have not taken her off the team register, so we don't know what's going on there from her. I did have a feeling last season was going to be Jem Beattie's last season, but I have a feeling she might end up sticking around for one more season.
Mm-hmm.
Just from the way she was being used in the Champions League qualifiers is very similar to how we were using her towards the end of the season. She comes on for the last 20 odd minutes. If
Mm-hmm.
we need to have someone up front, she's the one. She's the main threat. If you speak to a lot of the Arsenal fans that were at that Wolfsburg semi-final at the Emirates that night, they'll have fond memories of Jem Beattie scoring that header and then taking out the German striker Alexander Pop, and it was it. There's nothing against Jem Beattie. I think she knows that she's one of the oldest in the squad, and I think she can feel it. But if she thinks that she can go for one more season, then fair enough. But transfers out, I don't think there is really anyone that I could see at this moment. Transfers in, I think the only one that I've really heard of is Ellen Rubinson, who's playing for Häcken in Sweden, Swedish international, 33 years old, another defensive midfielder. So it would be great to have someone like her in, just to have someone that we can swap Leah Velti off every, so we're not having to play Leah every 90 minutes, because essentially that's how she got injured at the Everton game last season, was because we were playing her.
Yeah, I agree, because I think that those are the things that cause injuries. Like, I think with Kim Little, she probably plays every game. I mean, I know she's our captain, and captains should always play, probably if they can. So I think that's the thing that I think we need a bit of help with managing these injuries. I think it is to do with sort of playing every game. They need a bit of a break. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we do bring anyone else in. I don't think we will. Like, I don't think any of the players will be leaving Arsenal. I think with GMBT, I think I really like her, but I know she probably doesn't have a long time left with us. I know maybe this could be last season or the next one. I don't think she's got many more than that, but it's such an honour to have her at our club. And that header she scored was great, and she has shown that she can help us in important moments, and she's like our striker. I did want to answer this. How do you feel about Sam Kerr? Do you think she's overhyped? I personally just think she's too good. I just hate how good she is, especially when she plays us. So I wouldn't say she's overhyped. I just think I would love her out if she could leave the WSL for season 10 so we can win. But I think it's good to have her, because it shows you that how competitive the WSL is, and it shows you, I think she's a big part in why Chelsea have been successful over the years. Obviously Chelsea do have other great talents in their team, but and we've seen for Australia she was such an important player. So I'll probably say she's not overhyped. But what do you think, Matt?
I'll try and be as PG as possible, because let's just say I do have a dislike for her. Again, I look at someone like some of our players, Alessia. You look at her on social media, or the videos for England, or over whenever she's been around. She's been really nice. She's been very talkative. Whereas Sam Kerr comes across as very I'm trying to use the right word. What's the right word? A very self-absorbed. I think that's the best way. She seems to think everything revolves around her, which is the case at I nearly said Man City then. Chelsea, essentially, as you mentioned, is basically give the ball to Sam Kerr and she'll score. What happened at the Emirates? Sam Kerr gets in behind both Leah and I think it was Lotta at the time, and scores that equaliser. But at that time, Chelsea didn't look like they were going to get anything from that game. So she is an important player, but at the same time, Chelsea have added so many different strikers to this season. So it's not just going to be the Sam Kerr show. It won't be just the Guru Wrighton show. At some point, they've got other people that they can rely on. Whereas you look at Arsenal, you could probably, I think everyone will probably look back at Katie McCabe against Man City at home, scoring that winner against Man City after we were 1-0 down. You look at Viv scoring against Ajax earlier in the season. You've got other players as well. Beth Mead scoring, and even Caitlin Ford scoring against Tottenham. And there's two different teams, two different styles of playing. And it's what you get, really. And I think I prefer our way, instead of having there's just one main person and then the other person will help score. Sam Kerr thrives when she has someone else with her. So during the World Cup, they were playing a 4-4-2. It was usually Sam Kerr and Caitlin Ford together. But I think that If I had to say Sam Curry's overhyped, yes, just to put that right. But I wouldn't take her at Arsenal. If she could move back over to the US, I think she'll be a bit happier over there because her other half is actually playing in the US at the moment.
Yeah, I think for me, like, obviously as an Arsenal fan, I'd love this, but I probably think she might stay here for a few more seasons, and then, like you said, because her partner's in back there, I think she might take the opportunity and maybe go back somewhere else because she has been at Chelsea for a while. She has won a lot, but maybe she wants to kind of win a Champions League with Chelsea before she goes, possibly. But yeah, it's a tough one, but it's always hard playing against her, even when it's the Lionesses. She always does score, which is so frustrating. You can't really stop her. So yeah, well, I've really enjoyed having you on, and I've really loved doing this with you, and I appreciate all of you guys that have left us some questions to answer. I did sort of want to touch on the podcast you sort of do with Lottie. You know, you do sort of talk about the Arsenal women's team. You have your own podcast called VicAkersWonderland. Do you want to just tell people a bit about that and sort of what you do?
Yeah, so Lossie is a friend that I've been speaking to since, I think it was since Jonas's first season. She was looking to do a podcast. Originally, she was doing it with Canon Chatter. Unfortunately, they ended up going their own ways. But we still kept in touch, and we still wanted to do things. We eventually decided that we wanted to do a podcast. It was a sort of if anyone wants to know the story, I essentially I just asked her, "Did you want to do a podcast?" And she sort of secretly did it in the background, and she invited Adam, who is also a season ticket holder. You might see him around at the Emirates. He is actually famously on that poster. If you have seen, he's got the scarf out. He's got his glasses on, and he's. But I don't know what he's singing, but it is quite funny that he's on that. What's the banner outside the ground with all the fans on? But he is very famous over on Twitter. He likes to give a little bit of stick to everyone. But for Vic Akers Wonderland, for me, it was all about trying to get more women's football content out there. I've loved being involved in women's football, and it's one of the things that I've really enjoyed. And it's something that it's getting the growth and development, but it's coming very quickly. So sooner or later, you'll probably see more and more podcasts and things out there dedicated to other fans will get involved, things like that. At the moment, we're just over the 100 mark, but I do thank Lottie for everything that she's done, because she's been there from step one, and she's been a fantastic person. And if you did want to follow us we are on Twitter at VAW Pods, and we're also on YouTube as well, and you can find us on there as well. So but both Lottie and Adam are fantastic people, and I'm looking forward to a great season ahead, and hopefully we can have you on there as well.
Yeah, because I know I came on a few weeks ago, I think, to talk about one of the Lionesses game, and it's just lovely to kind of have these opportunities to do that. And like you said, with the growth of women's football, I think, you know, people will talk about the men's team. I think, why shouldn't people talk about the women's team? I think it's just as important that they get that recognition and support, because, you know, fans are everything in football. And I think it's so important that, you know, fans come together to, you know, talk about the game, especially the women's game. And I think it's just great to see how far we've come. And, you know, I think a few seasons ago when we played Wolfsburg, there's probably about maybe 6K at the Emirates, and now there's like, you're selling out a full crowd, and it's just lovely to see how far, you know, the women's team has come. I think the Euros has really, really helped the team, the World Cup as well. because I know with Alessia Russo, a lot of people watched her, and you've seen a glimpse of what she can be like at Arsenal. So I think it's great to see, you know, the growth there, and I think you and Lottie and Adam are doing great things, and I will link your channel in the description and in the title, because I think, you know, I watch your channel sometimes and I think, you know, you should get more recognition for what you do. I think it's great, and I hope you guys can check that out when I will put it in the title. But yeah, I really love doing this with you, Matt, today. It's been a pleasure to have you on, and I hope all of you that have been watching this, and to those that are watching it back as well. And thank you so much, Ange, for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I'll definitely have you on again to do a part 2 of this, maybe in the season, when the season starts. And as you said, we do play Liverpool. Is it the 1st of October, if I'm right in saying? Or...
Second, it's the Sunday.
Okay. So yeah, we do play them at the Emirates, which will be an exciting one. So make sure to watch that if you can. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. It's flown by for me. I could talk to you forever for Arsenal. But yeah, don't forget to smash a like button on this video, subscribe to Matt and Lottie's show, which I'll put in the title, and I'll see you all in my next video.